Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and it is my pleasure to bring you a brand new show with a brand new show host. This gentleman, I believe, found us on Google over a year ago or somewhere near therein, came on to our reunion show, and now he has his own show. He is the corporate culturalist and resume whisperer. What does that mean? It means everything that you need to know about finding a job, getting another job, maybe getting out of corporate. He has all the answers. Let's welcome Mr. Josef Stetter to the program. Hello.
Hello. Very exciting.
Wow, we've come full circle. I absolutely love it. Thank you for finding us and for joining our team.
Thank you. I'm excited about having the opportunity to share my wisdom and help more people find their path.
Josef, when I first met you, I think it was on the reunion show, we were talking about what you do. I was literally blown away by the number of people you have helped. And you are at a pivotal stage in someone's life when either they're looking to make a change or maybe they don't even know that they have more capabilities, but they're not presenting themselves in the proper way, or they're going about the whole job search the wrong way. So you have so many answers and so much experience. Why are you passionate about this?
I think my journey started because I didn't know what I want to do when I grew up. You know, growing up with parents where education, get a good job. I switched careers 9 times and jobs probably 18 times. And not only careers, but industries or type of work. Along the way, because once I reached a certain plateau, I was never happy. I was never fulfilled with it. I started doing self-development courses. And I did things and I got a lot of amazing breakthroughs through myself. And I started thinking about, why is nobody doing this for job finding? Then kind of 9/11 happened. I was downsized out of finance role and fell into recruiting. And in my first year in recruiting, I generated for the company over $750,000. And to reward me for bringing in new business and literally skyrocketing the business, the owner gave me cheese and crackers. And when I looked at her and said, "What is this?" She went, "Well, the cheese is from a very high-end frou-frou grocery store where like the cow is massaged for a month. Sadly, the crackers were from Dollar Tree or Dollarama." And I kind of said, "I generated $750,000 for you. The next person after me generated $140,000. That's how you're going to reward me? I don't really need you." So I became a recruiter. I started my own firm called the Celebrate Group. And I've worked as a generalist in recruiting for nearly 20 years, working with global companies like Deloitte & Touche, Apotex Pharmaceuticals, Tata Consulting Services, Econ Construction, several others. And in the transitions of my career, what really hit the mark for me, I was working for a private college, and I noticed that their career services was just awful. And so I wrote a manual to kind of help their career service reps better serve their students. my then VP was very intimidated that I could think for myself and figured out how to throw me under the bus very quickly. So I took the manual, I published it as a book, as one of my first books, and um, I've had the honor and the pleasure of helping 11,000 people since and growing. And I enjoy the opportunity to help people realize their greatness, their gifts, their, the results that they produce. And a lot of times that is not a conversation that most people have. And my purpose, right now in North America, we are going through some very weird times in the world as a whole, but currently there is approximately 50 to 60 million people that are unemployed. There is 50 to 60 million people that are severely underemployed, meaning have a university or college degree but work at McDonald's. And then approximately 30 million people going through some sort of education or retraining. So there's 150 to now, according to the economic statistics, there might be another 20 million people that lose their job or so in the next little while. So there's a target market of over 150 million people that are lost and are trying to do what everybody else is doing to get a job, but are getting nowhere. And so and this is part of the show, is to start educating people on how to be different than everybody else, stand out so that you could get interviewed within 2 days. In fact, my most recent record is I did somebody's LinkedIn profile at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. By 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 companies called them for an interview. So
that's incredible. And I love all of those statistics that you shared. I want to go back just to the beginning of your story, because I thought that was really fascinating about the amount of revenue that you brought in and the reward that was bestowed upon you. What could have made the difference at that point in time? What would you have thought, wow, this is commensurate with what it is that I did?
Again, even in a monetary value of, let's say, $5,000, it's still not relative to $750,000, even 10%. But it's a significant amount that kind of shows, we respect you, we appreciate everything you've done, the fact that you've brought in new business, the fact that you expanded the horizon. And unfortunately, this model of not appreciating employees is actually the number one reason why people leave their jobs. It's not the salary. Salary is actually 7 out of 10. Number one is how you're being treated. Number 2 is the lack of corporate culture or the lack of appreciation of the people there. And number 3 is people feel like there's no opportunity, there's no growth, and none of what they do is kind of recognized.
Excellent points. I think you and I have discussed this before, but I spent about 20 some years in the incentive business where our company did the trips, the trips to congratulate you, typically the A players. And then, of course, the points-based programs where you can use the points for a fabulous grill or a watch or whatever it is. So when you look at what are the drivers for people to stay or for them to leave, if you had been offered some other type of incentive that wasn't cash-based, would that have made a difference?
Yes. So if it was like, we want you to be a supervisor or a leader, or we want you to, help us build this division, for example, then I think that there's a level of recognition that would have been like, okay, this is worth my time. My reaction was, somebody who'd been working there for 11 years generated $140,000. I more than quintupled what they produced. And the recognition is cheese and crackers kind of thing. Like, unfortunately, the commission structure wasn't that rewarding to begin with. So it, on the $750,000 that I made, there wasn't a commission that drove me to kind of go, okay, I'll stay here and just keep bringing you, like, let's say $1 million, because then I can see a percentage of it. And sadly, a lot of companies count their pennies to make a dollar rather than understanding turnover will cost the company between $100,000 and $180,000 per month. When you break down the cost of overtime, you break down the cost of employees calling in sick because they're burnt out, you break down the cost of employee going, I'm doing all this extra work, but you don't seem to care, so I'm going to stop being as productive and I'm going to do just enough not to get fired, but not enough that I'm thriving for greatness. When you calculate the time it takes to interview, the time it takes to train, and even when training, most of the time training is surface level. So the real costs, when you add all that up, is $100,000 to $180,000 per month. And a lot of companies don't understand that because they nickel and dime, and they nickel and dime their employees on things that, if they invested, let's say, $500 to get a coffee machine, even though people love their Starbucks, the idea that the coffee is free would actually increase productivity. And most executives don't understand or don't seem to understand this concept. If you want, one of my favorite shows to watch is Undercover Boss. I'm always amused at the end of the episode when the executives go, oh my God, I should talk to the people that work here. I might get some insights as to what they care about or what drives them, because it's not about money all the time. I always give this example to executives. I say, if you have an administrative assistant or an executive assistant that's really great at what they do, yes, you can give them, let's say, a couple $1,000 bonus, which can pay off a lot of bills for many people. But instead, pay a day of work and send them to the spa for $300. When you send your executive assistant to the spa to pamper themselves, to get a massage, to do their nails, to relax, I guarantee you they're going to come a lot more rejuvenated and excited to work for you than if you gave them a $2,000 bonus. And, that's not something that appears on a profit and losses statement for executives. It's something that they need to learn. When they understand your people are the most important thing, they will produce more for you when they feel they're getting the psychological 3 A's that we all seek so desperately, which is appreciation, acceptance, and acknowledgement, which is why we all want to be loved, because you get all three of them in abundance when you are loved.
I'm applauding what you're saying. It makes so much sense. And I do wish that the people in a leadership position, and even people who are influencers, they would look at the role of an employee as being so important. Your clients are important, right? Your customers are important, but your employees are that first line that is interacting with the customers and the clients. And many times it's just going through the budget, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of this. And, one thing that's come up for me lately, which is a whole other different topic, but I just wanted to put it out there, is how many companies are using artificial intelligence and robots as the first and second line, where the client can't even get through to speak to a person. That's another show for another day. So
again, I've experienced that there too. And here's where, AI is great and it definitely can simplify a lot of things. But the human connection is something that, Napoleon Hill talked about it in Think and Grow Rich. It's something that when you understand the importance of respecting people, treating people with decency, it's not the money. I know a lot of people that, don't need a big raise. In fact, they would rather that you pay for training for them so that they can do a better job for you, or that because they enjoy learning. There is a level where, unfortunately, we are in a society right now where, it's very tunnel vision and it's very short term. What I need. I mentioned the Undercover Boss. It's amazing how a lot of these executives have no clue what the front line is actually doing and how much pressure the numbers that they've kind of assigned is, where, the human being can't have their coffee break and can't have the water cooler conversation about television and about music and about, day to day, rather than work, because we need that mental health. Yeah. Again, I'm an avid reader. I love learning. So there is a gentleman by the name of Sean Aker. He wrote a book called The Happiness Advantage. And he used to be a professor at Harvard. I don't know if he's still there. He might be at Pittsburgh University now, because I think he recently moved. And he has a course called Happiness. When he was at Harvard, there was a 2 to 3 year waiting list for his course. And in his book, The Happiness Advantages, he talks about teams that when they get together and start working right away will be less productive and perform less than teams that spend 10 to 15 minutes just to kind of catch up, laugh a little bit, relax a little bit, and then assign what work needs to be done and who's doing it. Because when you get the chance to laugh, relax, your mind is clearer and therefore you'll be more productive. And this ties in for job seekers that don't understand the importance of highlight who you are, highlight some of your personality. Like my background's purple, I'm wearing purple. It's part of my branding. It's part of, and thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, for wearing purple as well. But it's part of kind of being different. It's something that stands out. It's something that's remembered. And it's a small little thing, but I was at a networking event that had 36,000 people. I messaged people saying, I'm the guy that wore purple. I had a purple bag. They're like, oh yeah, they didn't remember my name, but they remember the purple. So you can do that on your resumes. Add a tiny bit of color just to stand out, and boom, you might have a break because you add a little bit of color as opposed to having the sea of sameness.
Excellent tips and excellent points there. Thank you. On the background that we have, we see that you are a career counselor. And what I'm wondering is, if you think about the various times that you're in your career, it's not just when you're going to look for work, but maybe you're in a position that you've been in for a long time and you're not sure what you want to do. Are you the person who can come and give some advice and say, okay, where are you today? Where is it you want to go? Let me see how I can help you.
Yeah, so I do give advice on kind of direction of career that you need to go, because a lot of times people kind of stick with the job because they know it. There's an element of fear of change that we all go through, and most human beings. There's an expression in English, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. There's a great book called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, where we hem and haw about every little detail. And it's only when we kind of unfortunately get a kick in the behind that we kind of go, okay, let me try something. My own experiences, my wife, when I first met her, was working as a behavior therapist with autistic kids. She was working for a private center, getting minimum wage. And she had to do an assessment. She'd been working there for 3-4 years. She had to do an assessment where she needed 97% on the assessment, and she got 96%. And the owner told her that they're firing her. They're letting her go. And she cried for a couple of days. And then I reminded her that at the time we were dating, she is dating one of the top 10 career coaches in North America. That's helped 11,000 people. And so she let me write her resume. She sent out 7 resumes on Sunday afternoon. Monday, 3 companies called her. Tuesday, 3 companies interviewed her. 3 companies offered her an opportunity that paid more money with better working conditions than what she had been working for the past 4 years. Right. And that's something that most people are so afraid of the change that they're even afraid to apply for a job because they don't want their leadership to find out. They don't want their management to find out. And again, I've had that as a recruiter as an experience when I reached out to people and said, I have an opportunity on a silver platter for you. And, that, but, what if? The world is full of what if. If I was terrified of what if, I'd never cross the street. I'd never leave the house, because what if I get in an accident? What if, there. So you can't live life with just being afraid of trying, right? If nothing else, you get an opportunity to learn and discover. And even in applying for jobs, you have to understand that there's a reason that I'm the corporate culturist, because people don't understand that every organization has a culture. Some cultures are great. Google, Facebook has built phenomenal cultures to take care of their employees, but not every company has that budget. But there's a lot of little things that could be done to build that culture that celebrates people, build that culture that inspires or motivates them, builds that culture where people are excited to go to work because it's a good feeling. And, on the corporate side, executives might know how to execute a strategy. They might know how to grow a company. They might be great visionaries. But if they don't understand your vision is nothing without your people, they get turnover, they get frustration. And, if you're nickel and diming, your employees are going to feel it in more ways than one, and they're going to lose interest. But because they don't want to be in a position where they don't have a job, they'll stick around. But they'll be miserable and they will act accordingly, meaning they will do the bare minimum and probably waste a lot of time being unproductive, doing other things just because they don't feel like it's worth it. But again, the fear keeps them there.
Joseph, you just touched on something that I had been thinking about for a while, which is the various trends that take place. First, it was everyone is leaving the workplace. People don't want to work in an office. People are working from home. They're refusing to go back. Then people are going back, but they're not doing anything because they're not happy that they're there. So they're doing as little as possible. What kind of trends are you seeing, and how is that impacting the overall economy?
Again, I think the trends are two parts because I look at it from both the individual job seeker and the corporations. So on the individual job seekers, I think, unfortunately, the pandemic spoiled people and they have potentially egotistical or self-serving, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. I recently had, I was recruiting for a security architect for a bank. The gentleman was making about $120,000 a year. I had another bank offer him $180,000 with a 25% bonus incentive, which never occurs in banks, with the request that he comes into the office once a week. And he looked at me and went, yeah, I'm not sure if a $60,000 raise is worth coming into the office once a week. And I'm looking and going, that's half your salary for you to come into the office and commute once a week, right? For the sake of being present with the leadership and kind of discussing strategy or whatever the case may be. And so to me, that's a little bananas in the perspective. I can understand if it was a $5,000, $10,000 raise, where when you work out a $5,000, $10,000 raise in terms of per pay, it's not that much of a difference. So you don't want to come into the office. But when it's half your salary, that's a whole other conversation, right? What I'm noticing on, let's say, the corporate side is there was up until recently a very big push of we hire younger, we hire new graduates because they're significantly cheaper. I'm not dismissing anybody's education, but using myself as an example, I've spent 30,000 hours mastering everything there is to know about jobs. I've been in recruiting for 20 years as a generalist, working with global companies like Deloitte & Touche, Apex Pharmaceuticals, Tata Consulting Services. I've written 10 books. I've earned the right to say I know more than someone who charges $100 to write a resume, because I know what works and I know what will deliver results. So if your concern is, I don't want to spend more than $100, go hire somebody that will charge you $100, because there's a lot of people there that go, oh, resume writing is pretty easy. You can just go on Google, type in a few keywords and there, or even better, go on ChatGPT and say, here, I need a resume, and ChatGPT will spew you one out. But again, if more people are using AI to create resumes, they're not highlighting how great they are. They're highlighting the general information that most people already do, which is why the average person spends 6 months to a year looking for a job, because they're inefficient in how they approach it.
Joseph, I want to take a segue from what you just shared, because I think this is really important. today in the marketplace, it's different than when I was in corporate. I'm an entrepreneur now, you're an entrepreneur, but it was basically competing against people of the same age with similar experience. And now it's all generations, all people. It doesn't matter. I don't know if
There's
you.
5 generations working together now. Yes.
Yes. So as just an example, very recently, because I don't want to give the exact information, I auditioned for something that is involved with health and wellness. And I knew going in, I was going to be at least 30 years older than everyone. So I had to take an approach that I didn't think they would take. And from what I saw, they didn't take it. But how do we go out and market ourselves if we are younger or if we are older? I know that you're able to help direct people regardless of what generation they're in.
So the simple answer is this: just like dating, right? I'm not for everybody, and I need to own that. There is a level that if I approach you and said, hi, I'm hi, I'm hi, can I please get your number? What am I says Jacalyn?
Well, maybe a different approach would be better.
Right, but age aside and everything of that, understand that uh, your reaction is perfect because most women will say it's slim to none. If you do the same for a job and say, please, please, please give me a job, I'm really hardworking, one of two things will happen. One, you'll get hired, but they'll never pay you what you're worth because they know that you're desperate. Or two, they'll never hire you because you don't have confidence in yourself. So if you can have confidence in yourself, the listening changes. The way that you create confidence in yourself is you highlight the results that you produced. Telling me, I'm going to use accounting as an example. If I'm looking to hire an accountant and someone comes to me and says, I know how to do financial statements, balance sheet and income statement, and I know how to do general ledger and reconciliation. Really? An accountant that knows how to do financial statements? Who would have thought? Every accountant on earth knows how to do those things. I don't care that you know how to do them. And when I say most employers don't. I care how good you are at what you do. So if you have the ability to create, more accurate financial statements, to more detailed, point out things that will defer taxes, point out, gaps in the record keeping or how things were, recorded in terms of the transactions or whatever, then you got my attention. I usually simplify this. If you're lucky enough to be in a relationship, when you come home and tell your partner about your job, yeah, there'll be days where yeah, I did my job today. But for the most part, they'll be like, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened to me at work today. There was this crazy problem that I had to solve. And I spent 4 hours trying to figure out how to solve it. And I came up with the most genius solution to do it. I did X, Y, and Z. And now because of X, Y, and Z, we can automate some of the processes. We're going to be more efficient. And this is going to save the company a lot of money. That's what you need to share. That's what distinguishes you, not I know how to do my job. So if you are more mature and you have more experience, number one, limit what's on your resume to probably no more than 25 years. Second of all, highlight the results, not I know how to do my job and I have a title. Nobody really cares that you have a title. You'd be surprised. Like I have a client right now that I'm recruiting for some very high level positions. And I went through 1,000 LinkedIn resumes where I'm trying to find people with, let's say, banking and compliance background. And literally, I'd say half of the 1,000 profiles I looked at, it said VP of compliance, name of bank, dates that they worked there, with no information in terms of what work they've actually done, what kind of compliance or KYC background they have, what they've implemented as strategy or ideas to show me that they're worth. Yeah, just because you have a title doesn't mean anything to me. In North America, we seem to come up with newer and more creative titles to make us sound more important. Like I worked for a private college where their receptionist was known as the director of first impression. So when you read the job title, ooh, director, but the person was a receptionist, right? So, I have a resume that there was a cashier in a grocery store, but she wasn't a cashier. She was a financial transactions specialist. So,
Wow.
right. So the titles can be bolstered. I spoke to a guy that's been a CFO for 20 years. And all again he did is write CFO, and some of the companies that he's worked for. And I said, have you ever done any mergers and acquisition? He's like, no. I'm like, have you ever done any complex financial like modeling? Or he's like, no. I'm like, have you done any transactional based accounting? No. I'm like, okay, so you've been a CFO for 20 years. I've just asked you 3 questions that you said no to all 3 of them. How am I supposed to trust that you know what you do as a CFO when I have no idea what strategies you were responsible for as a CFO? When I have no idea what kind of information you were handling as a CFO? So there's a massive gap right now in the workforce where you have some brilliant individuals that might be able to produce great results, but they're under the assumption that when I get to the interview, I'm going to share with them how great I am. But then they wonder why nobody calls them when they've sent out thousands of resumes. The answer is your resume sucks. And so does your LinkedIn profile. Sorry to say it that way, but the reality is that, you're not marketing yourself in a way that excites people to speak to you. If you've highlighted how good you are and you've emphasized this is what you bring to the table, more often than not, you'll have companies reach out to you. I was helping as a way of giving back a gentleman that's a software developer, and kind of said, I will help you for free because, it's part of goodwill. And he had a 4-page resume that on his resume, he was like, oh, I'm an excellent team player. And I'm part of it. I get along with everybody and I'm hardworking. And I'm like, you're a software developer. Nobody cares about this. And I wrote his resume and did his LinkedIn profile. Within 2 weeks, he had 4 job offers, right? Just because I wrote the correct information on his resume as opposed to fluffy, subjective, useless information. Because let's say the word hardworking. What's the definition of hardworking? I mean, Jacalyn, you have, 55 shows under the umbrella of USA Global TV and Radio, right? And you're working long hours, but and I respect and admire that about you. But just because you're working such long hours doesn't mean that I'm not hardworking because I'm maybe working 10 hours a day versus your 14 hours a day, for example. Because if I can do things more efficiently in less amount of time, we're in different industries. So you can't really compare my 10 hours versus your 10 hours because you're on air most of the 10 hours. So it's a different environment. If I have a nurse during the pandemic that was working 4 hours of overtime because they were short staffed or the other nurse didn't arrive, versus an accountant that's working 80 hours to 100 hours a week during tax season, does that mean that the nurse is less hardworking than the accountant? No, because there's different levels of stress. There's different levels of requirement. And so filling your resume with subjective, fluffy words like I'm hardworking relative to who or to what, Les Brown is somebody that I've always admired. He's been a motivational speaker. He's made millions of dollars as a motivational speaker. Compared to him, I haven't made millions of dollars as a motivational speaker. So people might not consider that I have excellent communication skills. But how do you measure excellent communication skills? If you've done Toastmasters, they check how often you say filler words like and, or like, but, yeah, and so forth. But I've honed in the craft of being able to communicate eloquently and minimize my filler words so that the conversation flows. And if I have nothing to say or I'm thinking about it, I'm okay with silence. So what's the measure of excellent communication? Do you know how many people I've interviewed that are gainfully employed that in my opinion, have horrible communication skills, but they got hired. So no one hires you because you have excellent communication skills, unless your job is to do presentations.
I'm smiling ear to ear back here because what you said is so spot on. And I've seen some resumes where people will put productivity driven, results oriented. Hello, what does that mean? Because if you're doing your job, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're already doing that. That's nothing that stands out for me.
Yeah, and again, this is where we've been taught, whether you've taken a careers course in life, whether you've been unemployed and went to an unemployment center, or and again, What Color Is Your Parachute is a brilliant book. There's a lot of great resources in it, but we're no longer in the Industrial Revolution. And telling me that you're results driven, again, technically speaking, even people in large retailers that get paid minimum wage are results driven, because if they do well, they can get promoted. So everybody's results driven.
Absolutely. And, we're going to talk about future episodes. But before we do, I want to share my screen and let's look at your website. And you've got a plethora of information here for people. Tell us where people should go onto the website and what the website address is, please.
So the website is kind of a quick background of who I am, what I've done to earn the right to say I am an expert in the field of corporate culture, and as a resume whisperer / career coach, who I am. I've written 10 books. I've been featured in big magazines like Disrupt Magazine and Bazinga and MSP News and Newswire and so forth. I've helped over 11,000 people land their dream job in as little as 2 days. I've been in recruiting as a generalist for 20 years and worked with small to global companies, and currently am doing the same. So it's kind of like, here's who I am, here's what I do, and here's why I do it differently than most other people. Because I'm not regurgitating, you should say that you're hardworking. I think it's a waste of time. I think that the cookie cutter model of resumes and interviewing is the biggest fallacy that exists. And all these experts that say, oh, you need to customize your resume for every job, are basically unoriginal, because if you've written your resume correctly the first time, you don't need to customize it for other jobs, unless you're applying for different types of, like one time you're applying for sales and one time you're applying for, let's say, accounting, then you do need to change it. But if you're staying within the realm of sales, if you've written your results correctly, you don't need to customize your resume for it. And so I want to educate people on, on the individual side, what are some of the ways that you can distinguish yourself on the resume and the interview, in networking, in salary negotiations, in working with employment agencies and dealing with job boards, so that you're getting results much faster. I want everybody I help to call me in 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, say, I just helped somebody 4 job offers in 2 weeks. Wouldn't you want to be in that position where you can leverage them and get more money and better perks for you and decide what's right for you? And on the corporate side, to educate leadership that it's not about, it is leadership training, but it's about shifting from just P&L to, when you start recognizing your people and you start doing things that show them that you appreciate them, that you accept them, that you acknowledge them, they will do more for you. You won't need to adjust all your P&Ls. It will be adjusted naturally, because, people will be driven correctly to it. Because if you're not money driven, but you're recognition driven, when you get the right recognition, you will want to do more because you enjoy that recognition. And there's a fine balance, because they both tend to fall into kind of, here's the generics. A lot of job descriptions don't really tell you what you need to do in the job. They just use very big words like, we need someone who's a visionary. Okay. A visionary for what? Right? I'm a visionary to have peace in the world. I'm a visionary to have people love and appreciate each other. I'm a visionary to have people reconnect, not necessarily religiously, but spiritually, to whatever creator they believe in, God, Allah, Buddha, and understand that it's all part of the kingdom. It's all part of, you have gratitude in life. You start celebrating the small things in your life, more good things will happen to you. You need to be open to receive them, of course, but there's a lot of ways you can distinguish yourself. Like I said, I use the analogy of dating. It's a level of sorry, fixing my collar, but dating, like, I'm happily married. I don't need 100 wives. Don't think I can handle that, but I just need somebody that understands who I am and gels well with my level of crazy and what I do well, and I recognize that I by no means am I perfect, but as long as I'm willing to learn, as long as I'm willing to improve, we can both grow together, kind of thing.
Very well stated. Thank you so much. Here is the website again. It's JosefStetter.com. You are also an author, and you said you've published 10 books. We have your Amazon books up here where people can go and get them. Anything that you'd like to share before we go over to the page?
Again, some of the books were collaboration books, which I've done with other leaders and other entrepreneurs that kind of share, wisdoms. Like, if you, part of what I do is kind of go, listen, if your vision is to be an entrepreneur, why not find a great job that pays you or teaches you what you need to do as an entrepreneur before you're ready to take that leap of faith? If you're not ready to be an entrepreneur and your path is the, paycheck every 2 weeks and the security that brings to you and benefits and so forth, awesome. But don't settle for a job because, you've been searching for a year and there's no better options. It breaks my heart to hear that, we have people that are, educated with masters, with PhDs, with, specialized training in IT and engineering, that are working as Uber drivers, that are working at Walmart. And it's like such a waste of talent and resources that could make such a positive impact on the world if we started better recognizing, where skills are, where talent are, what, and how to communicate that I'm worthy. I have unique talents. I have a unique background. My gifts that, God has blessed me with is the ability to help guide people to better through not only marketing themselves for progression in their career, but also to help organizations understand that here's how you take a lot of complex data about, let's say, how people think, how they act, how they behave through personality assessments, collect data on, here's kind of causes that they believe in and what that means as an employee to them, and simplify it for organization to go, if you do this, this, and this for this employee, you'll keep them for life. Or you'll keep them as long as they want to be an employee, for example. And you'll save yourself a ton of turnover costs. And I think that's where, I'm excited, because there are so many companies that desperately need this. And there's so many individuals that need to change what they're doing, because if they keep sending cookie cutter resumes and only applying on Indeed, they will unfortunately miss many opportunities.
Wow. Thank you so much for everything that you have shared here today, Josef. We are putting the link to your Amazon page here, and we're going to go to there right now so that people can go and order your books, which is exciting. So here we go.
Yeah, some of the books are actually under, because there were collaborations under different names. But yes, they're, if you type my name, you can find them probably in different aspects.
Okay, any one particular book that you want to hone in on?
Again, I think, like, look, at the end of the day, and I'll say this, the books offer a lot of resources and a lot of value and a lot of insights, stories, and so forth. But at the end of the day, watching a video on riding a bicycle or learning how to swim or being a pilot just because you play video games doesn't make you one, right? There's a level where throughout the shows, as we kind of progress in our episodes, I'm going to do live resume critiques. I'm going to do, coaching sessions where people can kind of log in, whether it's through chat or actually be invited as guests and ask questions, challenge me, and kind of see the value in the information. And as much as, let's say, I offer a program that allows people to access my 30,000 hours of mastery in an online course that they can click through JosefStetter.com to do, there's a lot of value in having coaches and mentor, and having someone who knows what they're doing. Because again, even though I've provided templates and so forth, not, an engineer, for example, might look at my template and go, but how do I quantify my results? How do I quantify or wordsmith the correct statements? So we will definitely have some kind of episodes to help people understand the art of wordsmithing and the art of resumes and the art of the interview and a lot of other things that unfortunately either you got very surface level training on or you more or less figured out on your own, but it's not working now because the workforce has changed.
Joseph, I am looking forward to these additional episodes in the future. And I hope also that we can look at LinkedIn and we can even,
Oh, of course.
I'll volunteer my LinkedIn, but I'm speaking at a
Ooh.
conference and I have to interview these people on a panel and I don't know anything about them. And 3 of them are not on LinkedIn. And I was shocked at the level that these people are, and they don't have a profile on LinkedIn. So maybe if we can talk about the value of LinkedIn and then how to actually have a profile that is worth reading.
Again, all of that ties in. So your LinkedIn, your resume, networking, asking for referrals, salary negotiations, understanding how employment agencies work and the different types of employment agencies / recruiters, because there's a big difference between, let's say, immigration employment agencies and, companies like Robert Half and Randstad and, that are very, very big to some of the smaller local agencies or boutique agencies like mine. And also understanding kind of job boards, the pros and cons for it. So I'm going to dissect the workforce in ways that I think most people touch on, but they kind of go, here's what you should do. Like one of the biggest outplacement firms in North America, their networking section literally says, networking is a good idea. Networking can help you get a job. You should network. And I'm going, this is one of the biggest outplacement firms in North America that has given information that anybody can find on their own on the internet. When I talk about networking, I'm going to talk about branding yourself with specific colors or having distinguished watch that you can be a conversation starter or different things that you can wear to be remembered. I'm going to talk about the conversations you want to have. I'm going to tell you where you should start looking at networking in terms of resources. I'm going to tell you the follow-up that you need to do so that you're a lot more efficient. I'm going to teach you techniques that, my mentors are teaching me in terms of how to make sure that when you network, you have conversations that are more memorable, that are more specific, that are more targeted. And all of this overlaps because I mentioned LinkedIn again, and I use LinkedIn a lot as a headhunter, as part of the services that I offer as a corporate culturist. And you have no idea how many people I go, nope, 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 just because there is no relevant information on LinkedIn. And a lot of employers will look at your LinkedIn profile to see if you have, for example, testimonials saying that you know what you're doing and that you have credibility. And it is amazing to me, as vast and as great as that tool is, how little it's being used and how incorrectly it's being used. And again, this goes part and parcel where, most people by default will apply on job boards like Indeed. Unfortunately, the statistics for Indeed say that one job posting will get between 350 and 5,000 applications. So how do you stand out? How do you get noticed? How do you make sure that you're the resume that they're calling? Those are all things that we're going to be talking about.
You are incredible. Thank you so much for bringing all of your knowledge and expertise to our platform, because you have helped so many people already. You've helped me tonight. I've taken away a number of nuggets. And even though I'm an entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter, because it's all about growing, evolving, and how can we bring value and how can we give back? So you're doing all of that.
Right. But the same tips apply to an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, if you're going to, let's say, interview these people, as much as you might have certain questions that are assigned to you to ask, there's a level of how do you engage? How do you kind of ask a question that allows for, different opinions to be demonstrated, but for each one to demonstrate their leadership or expertise or knowledge in the subject matter. So, by no means am I the only expert on this. And it's about perspective. It's about whether or not my stories, my messaging connect with you. And if they don't, I respect that. Please find somebody that you do connect with, because there's a reason, and Jacalyn, I'm going to use you because I know you've proudly posted that you've had, 650 consecutive, intense workouts that you do. I think
670 today.
670, right? So you see, I have been paying attention to it. But here's the thing. If you were to do those workouts only by yourself, do you think that you would be doing 670 of them consecutively?
No. Right. No, it's about the community.
It's also coaching. So when you started doing these workouts, you needed to learn how to do them correctly so that you don't get injured, so that, your muscles know how to recover, so as much as everybody thinks that they know how to find a job on their own, if it's taking you 6 months to a year to land a job and you're only getting kind of one job offer and you've had kind of 1 to 5 interviews in 6 months, you don't know how to get a job. You need to change the way you're looking for a job. Similarly, if you're an entrepreneur or in leadership in an organization, and you have an almost like revolving door in terms of people working for you or with you, you're struggling to attract the right people, some of the conversations need to change. And it's a matter of, here's how I present myself. So when I go to a networking event, here's questions I can ask that will engage and create interest and create follow-up, because it's not the, oh, so what about this weather? Or, do you like the sports team? Or, let me just shake your hand and collect your business card because I've been told that's very important in networking. I'm amused with the amount of times that people come and go, oh, you sound important, give me your card. And then just send me a message with, I took your card yesterday, here's my resume, I need a job. Who are you? Did we have a conversation? Nothing. And so, even in entrepreneurship, there's a level where you need to, recognize who's doing what. I've had the pleasure of being a guest in podcasts where sometimes it's episode 2. And great that you're starting out, and it's an opportunity to share my wisdom, and it could be a different audience. But take a look, someone that's done like yourself, so many shows and so many podcasts has earned the right to say, you know how to do it correctly. You know how to set things up correctly, which is why I chose to partner with you. So,
and I'm so glad that you did. It's been a fabulous first episode, and I want to spotlight you again and just have you share any final thoughts for this episode or future episodes, and then who would you like to contact you, and we'll put up your contact information.
Again, so if you're frustrated at your job, you feel like you're underpaid, you're in a horrible culture, please reach out to me, JosefStetter.com. If you're an organization that's having a hard time finding great people and keeping them, please contact me, because I can help build your corporate culture. I can help give you insights that will draw. And I will leave with this. If you are ready to step into your greatness, whether as an entrepreneur, as a corporation, or as an individual, and you want to learn how to be different so that you attract the right people, then please reach out to me and let's have conversations on how we can make that happen.
And to learn more, you can go to Josef's website, which is his name, JosefStetter.com. You can also purchase his books on Amazon, and we have the Amazon link up right here. And we look forward to seeing you again, Josef. We will be here each and every Thursday at the same time, which is 5 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 1 a.m. British Summer Time, and 2 a.m. Central European Time for all those people who are staying up late. And we will be putting the show on E360 TV as well. There you go.
Okay.
So thank you, Josef, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And again, please go over to our YouTube channel. We have just created a playlist where this show will be found along with all of the others. And do reach out to Josef, especially on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you. And I'm excited to continue to impart various nuggets and wisdom, stories, and antidotes on how to be successful in whatever path you choose.
I'm excited too, and I'll have another purple outfit on. Yay. Okay.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Josef. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.